Good day, everyone. Welcome to our virtual class in Health 9, fourth quarter, with the topic of intentional injuries, types, and characteristics, part 4. Our learning competency is to identify the protective factors related to intentional injuries. The learning objectives of this lesson is to differentiate intentional injuries from unintentional injuries and describe the types of intentional injuries. For your pretest, here is the direction. True or false? Write true if the statement is correct and false if it is incorrect. You have 5 seconds to answer each item. Now, let's do a recap to test your previous knowledge. Direction. Fill in the blanks. Please fill in the best possible answer for the following questions. Again, you have 5 seconds to answer each item. What did you observe in these two pictures? Very good. It's verbal abuse and sexual abuse. Verbal abuse is a form of cruelty that involves the use of words. When someone repeatedly uses words to demean, frighten, or control someone, it's considered verbal abuse. To be better understand verbal abuse, it is better to look at its characteristics. Verbal abuse is hurtful and usually attacks the nature and abilities of a person. Verbal abuse may be obvious through angry outbursts and name-calling, or hidden involving very subtle comments. Obvious verbal harassment behaviors include things like threatening, yelling, insulting, or cursing at a victim in public or in private. Verbal abuse is controlling. Even judgmental comments may be voiced in a very sincere and concerned way. Verbal abuse is dangerous. It causes a gradual fading of the self-confidence of persons without them realizing it. Verbal abuse is fickle. Verbal abuse usually worsens increase of strength, regularity, and assortment. Verbal and emotional abuse takes a toll. It can sometimes escalate into a physical abuse too. In Arkansas Code 1212-503, sexual abuse means sexual intercourse deviates sexual activity or sexual contact by forcible compulsion. Attempted sexual intercourse deviates sexual activity or sexual contact. Indecent exposure. Forcing, permitting, or encouraging the watching of pornography or live sexual activity. Sexual abuse were classified as incest, molestation, and rape. Number 1. Incest is sexual contact between a person who are so closely related that a marriage between them is considered illegal. For example, parents and children, uncles and aunts, and niece and nephews. Number two, molestation is the sexual abuse of a person, whether a child or adult, by an adult for sexual pleasure or profit. Molestation may include any of the following: fondling, to handle, stroke or caress lovingly or erotically; mutual masturbation, two people touching each other's sexual organs for pleasure; sodomy, sexual intercourse that involves inserting of the penis of one person into the anus of another person; coitus, sexual intercourse between a male and a female involving the insertion of the penis into the vagina; child pornography, explicit portrayal of children as sexual subject matter for purpose of sexual arousal. It may be in variety of media like books, magazine, films, photos, and etc. Child prostitution refers to the children who get paid to have sex. Rape. Rape is for sexual intercourse including vaginal, anal, or oral penetration. Rape is a type of sexual assault usually involving sexual intercourse or other forms of sexual penetration carried out against a person without the person's consent. Penetration may be a body part or an object. The sexual act may also be considered rape if it satisfies any of the following criteria. One or both people are not old enough to consent, which means one or both of them are below 18 years old. One of them does not have the capacity to consent, which means one of them may not be in his or her right mental and legal capacity to consent. That is, with mental ability, people who have been drugged or unconscious. One of them did not agree to take part, which means the rapist might use physical force or a threat to force the victim to have intercourse with him or her. If these three considerations are met, the sexual act falls under the category of rape, which is a criminal offense and it is punishable by law. For your activity, Activity 1, palm analysis. Read the palm in the next slide and then answer the questions that follow. You can pause this video for you to be able to understand what is the palm. Here are the 5 guided questions to be answered. Number 1. What is the poem all about? Summarize the story of the poem. Number 2. What did you feel after reading the poem? Why? Number 3. Could this really have happened? Why? Number 4. If you were the writer, how would you end the story? Number 5. What would you do if you were the following and why? The mother, Sasha, Lay, or the concerned neighbor? Wrap up. Activity number 2. I think, I feel, I do. Answer the 3 questions for each situation. Write your answers in your worksheet. You accidentally broke an expensive glassware while playing and this made your mother angry. As a punishment, she spanked you. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? And what will you do? You talked to your seatmate while your teacher was discussing the lesson. As a result, he got very angry and said bad words to you. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? And what will you do? You saw your classmate outside the school extorting money from a younger student. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? And what will you do? You notice that your seatmate has scars on his arms. They look like blade marks. When you confronted him, he told you that it was only a tripping. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? And what will you do? Your best friend revealed to you that she is being molested by her uncle. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? And what will you do? Valuing. Write a reflection on the things you've learned in this lesson and their relevance to you. Tell how you can apply what you've learned in your daily life and cite specific instances in which you feel these learnings will come handy. For your post-test, here is the direction. True or false? Write true if the statement is correct and false if it is incorrect. Again, you have 5 seconds to answer each item. Number 1. Here are some references of this lesson. After this video, you may start answering and doing your activity. Wrap up and valuing. You only have 15 minutes to finish this activity. Thank you and God bless.